Well, I close the moment looking at this particular debate of subsidy removal. We're not being joined by Dr. Nweze. He's of the Pan-Atlantic University. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Yeah.
When you talk about all of this, you try to also put the economy of the country into perspective and talk about proper management, which you've always highlighted when we have you on the program. This debate is back again, and whenever we hear this debate, we'll also remember the hashtag Ojota rally.
Yeah.
What do you make of this debate about subsidy removal?
Well, in 2007, 2008, I've been advocating for subsidy removal. I wrote a piece, it was published in one of the papers, and it's even a chapter in the book that I have written, but it's not published yet. And, because when you look at the economics of it, it doesn't make sense. Now, licenses have been given to some people to set up a refinery. And my argument then, and still now, is that there's no way, from my own research, that a company or someone who invests in setting up a refinery, if the price of fuel is less than 200 naira per liter. Short term, yes. But the whole essence of deregulation or liberalization of the sector is that in the long run, that the masses will benefit because it will attract competition. Okay? Now, when you allow the subsidy to be there, you are just enriching few people. Basically, 1% of the population control about 96 or 98% of the wealth. So you are actually enriching few people. And the problem solving in Nigeria, I keep saying this, is that you create another problem and make great job for those who don't need it and take away job from those who need it.
But the argument's also there that if the subsidy is removed, the cost of living will go up. Market forces might take over. So
of course, I said short term, yes. But again, don't forget that.
Define short term.
Short term in the next maybe 1 year, 2 years. But long term, if you spread 5 years. But again, subsidy removal is not something you just do, yank it off just immediately. It should be spread over time. The government have not been able to think how to spread it.
No, but we're saying that. I mean, I think it's the Minister of State for Petroleum who's speaking on it, that's Mr. Kachiko, who's saying that it's going to be removed gradually until it is finally taken away.
That is the way they're supposed to have done this 15 years ago. They didn't do it. And then I'm even happy that, seeing those who went to Ojota to protest against subsidy removal now clamoring for it. And my thinking is that people that are supposed to know, they are now saying, don't remove the subsidy. I say it's Machiavellian.
What do you think caused that agitation in 2012? What do you think motivated the people to say, don't remove fuel subsidy at that time?
You see, that was when the political thing was building up. The opposition. It was just building up, and they found a way off. And again, you see, Nigerians, they don't know history. If they do a lot of research and they understand history, they should be able to even understand, what I call economic literacy. What is the implication of this? Look at it economic-wise. Even the policymakers, they lack economic literacy. And when you don't have that, the masses, the population we don't have a critical mass of economic literate population, you can't understand policy and you can't make the right policy that will benefit the people.
Okay, let's just look at government having the right policy. Is there a problem with communicating policy in the country? Was that the major challenge in 2012? Would that be a challenge going forward? Now that the Minister of State is talking about gradual removal, would that be a challenge?
No, you see, one is the communication challenge has always been there. Government is saying something, but they don't mean it from the heart. And they're communicating something, but they're doing a different thing. And that's how my village people define politicians. They say one thing and they do another. And that's what government has been doing. And by doing so, they create some kind of distrust. Okay, people don't, the population don't trust the government don't trust the people. Okay, so everybody is just doing what they like. So, but the point is that government, like the former American president said that When you tell the people the truth, the nation is safe. They are not telling us the truth. They have never told us the truth.
Even now?
Even now, they're not telling us the truth.
On what specific?
In several areas.
For instance?
I mean, you know that. Some of the things that we're experiencing now. Oh, they said that, like the previous person mentioned, the previous guest you had over here. The government is saying that they are doing this, but now they're also doing what they criticized before. You see it all over the place, So you cannot govern people via propaganda. It's not right, and you cannot sustain it. The people should focus, and that's what I say about struggle for power. You struggle to get power. Now you don't know what to do with power, and governance is not your, no direction of what to do.
Before we talk the hard politics, let's also focus on this deregulation. I mean, we've discussed power. I mean, 2 energy issues this morning, power and fuel. And it would seem that in the 2 areas, both our earlier guests were saying deregulate. That is the way to go. The power sector, it says, has been partially deregulated, and we can actually get to the point where it is fully deregulated. In the fuel area as well, people are also saying deregulate. They also believe that's the way to go, which is also what you agree with.
Yes.
Are we going to be deregulating everything in Nigeria? Is that really the way? Is government really telling us that they cannot run anything?
Yeah, government cannot run anything. That's what the body language. One American philosopher said, Will Rogers, that the business of government is for government to get out of business unless business needs government aid. Government intervention.
Do you agree with that?
Of course. There are times that government will need intervention to intervene in the whole system, okay? And that is Hong Kong, for instance. Government involvement in Hong Kong before the Chinese took over was only 10%. But in Nigeria, the only way one simple way of knowing the government involvement in business is to go to the airport. Watch which flight, which route records the highest, flight. Abuja. Who is in Abuja? Government. Lagos, Abuja. Who is in Lagos? Business. That's to show you the government involvement. Business will stand still for months until government. Look at the delay in appointment of ministers. Business too still. And it's not right. Our economy is still government dependent. This subsidy thing again, now, you don't expect someone living in Kaura Namoda to be buying the same price of fuel as someone in Lagos.
But is that fair? I mean,
it's not.
If you look at
in my village, for instance, anytime I tried, I never bought fuel for regular price.
That's what I'm saying now. So if we say that, because one of the reasons why government says they are subsidizing, and they've also spent a lot of money in this petroleum equalization fund to ensure that wherever it is you are in the country, you should be able to buy petrol at the price government says you should buy. But unfortunately, that's not the situation.
Because that's where the subsidy comes in.
Now let's look at
the truck that moves from Lagos. Why should Lagos be the only place where you can drop fuel, imported fuel? We have other ports. Okay. Now the truck will pick it up from Lagos and head to Sokoto. Now the transport fare that you have to be able to sell that, there's no way they will sell fuel for less than 150.
What I'm saying is, yes, government says it bridges even that transport, that transport
that's
cost.
A subsidy, yeah.
No. Aside the subsidy of petrol, because when petrol lands at the at the ports, there is a cost at which it has landed, and government pays the difference. That is subsidy. There's also the petroleum equalization fund, which is to take care of the cost of transport from one area to another. Of course, it's all within the subsidy. But I'm asking, do you think that if this subsidy goes, how adversely do you think it will affect the life of the man in, say, Kaura Namoda or in Ebonyi State where you come from?
What will happen now is not just doing that. You need to also open up the whole system. Now, in economics, the market structure we have now is what they call oligopoly, where few players are controlling the whole thing. And the worst, one aspect of oligopoly, which is called collusive oligopoly, is even worse than monopoly. It destroys economies. And that is what is happening. When for the masses to benefit, there has to be competition. People should be allowed to bring in fuel and to refine fuel and sell at any price. You may move from one gas station along Ikorodu Road, for instance, to the next. Different prices.